Welcome to the Love Government. I'm Leary. We're doing a series of videos called Sex Signs, and we're now on the 16th episode. I was talking about the need to explain things in a reasonable, understandable way. And the two basic things we need to explain are good and evil. And we do it. It makes sense to me, and I think it has a more general application. The goodness comes from our origination as a species, showing up, appearing in the garden setting, in nature, embedded in nature. That's kind of our template. Not that we have to go back there and try to reproduce that totally, but that is our example that we need to take. How did we live back then? Love government comes from that love culture, that originating culture. It's not just a myth. It's a myth, true, but that's how people explain things, through myths. But there's a truth in it. The evil, good and evil, the evil is also quite understandable, the way the love government presents it. It comes from patriarchal men who were jealous of the love system, because the love system had woman at the core, and then her children, embedded in nature, and then men being the helpers to the women. Men were brought into the women's circle for pleasure and for reproduction and for lots of things. That is the natural system. The problem came with jealous patriarchal men who didn't like it. They wanted to be the center of attention, and they needed to kill that system, overthrow it, rebel against it. That's called the fall of man. How did they do it? They did it by turning from lovers to killers. A whole different energy. And they killed the animals, starting with the small ones, who had the blood like we do. So it became, for them, a bloodlust. There's a urge, there's a addiction. There's a blood rush when you're into killing, especially when it's new. And so they bulked up over time. They bulked up. The upper body became very strong because they had to fight the animals and kill them and wield their fists and rocks and swords and guns, and they bulked up. Their blood count rose higher than women's, despite the fact that women bleed monthly. The men were the ones who started off eating meat, blood-soaked meat, and they turned into that kind of an animal, and they felt very, very powerful, and they used that power then to overthrow the love culture by forcing women to eat the meat, or coercing, or lying, to change everything. That's the rebellion, the fall of man. That's the source of evil, because it's an overturning of good. These are the two polarities, evil and good. So we live today in an evil society, which means it's anti-love. It has turned love on its head, corrupted it through basically 5 major means, which I'm going to get to. Now, them's the facts, ma'am. Them's the facts as I see it. I'm not claiming to be right, but I have the right, under a free system, to express my opinion. That's all I'm doing. There are other clues in nature as to the proper relationship between the sexes to get out of this war mode and to get into the love mode. We want to make love, not make war. We need to get out of that mode into the other mode. And we are being aided by discoveries in science. Now, there was a woman in the 1980s who discovered and put her name to the discovery that man has a clitoris. Amazing. It's an amazing discovery, well documented. She went into the archives of medicine, Harvard, and all these big institutions, and wrote this book. I don't think people want to hear that, so it's not generally known, but the book is called Eve's Secrets, written in the 1980s, when she did her research. And she put her name then to that discovery. Men have a clitoris also. It's inside of the penis. It's responsible for erection and ejaculation and pleasure. And it's about the same size as the full woman's clitoris. So now we can speak scientifically about a male clitoris. The female clitoris has five extensions. The clitoris has a head, 2 arms, and 2 legs. You can see it in the anatomy books if that's brought out. And the man's is incomplete. It doesn't have the arms, but the body of the clitoris and the 2 legs, called crura, are about the same size in both sexes. So that's an astounding discovery, which means that we're all not that different. We're basically the same. If man has a clitoris, we're basically the same, with significant differences. That should be able to overcome the war of the sexes, but on the part of patriarchal men, it requires some truth-telling, some humility, some reality orientation. So men need to get over it. Whatever there's in them that keeps wanting to make war rather than love. But we have a choice. We're free. We're free. There are 4 clues in our body. 4 clues. And they're all clitoral. I'm saying that word with emphasis because it's clitoral thinking that we need to do if we're going to save ourselves. Clitoral thinking along with critical thinking, which is kind of in the middle. And then there is the questionable clinical thinking. Those again are that tripartite way of looking at things. With the thing in the middle is critical thinking. We need to do critical thinking. And then in the extremes there's clitoral and then there's clinical thinking. So I'm going to refer to those 3 words as a way of getting at the truth. So the clitoral thinking is first of all about the clitoris of a woman and a man. Clitoris of a woman is 5 extension. The man is 3 extension. Both have clitoral. That's clitoral thinking. You think about the clitoris, in other words, as a symbol, as a sign, as a clue that's been implanted in our bodies for a reason by whoever created us. Maybe we created ourselves. Maybe it was star people that created us. If it was God that created us, we could not possibly know that, because God, as he's defined, is the supreme being, the absolute. You cannot know the absolute unless you are the absolute. So it gets into contradiction. So we don't go that way. We substitute love for God. If I were to rewrite the Bible and all the patriarchal texts, wherever I found love, where I found money, in the Constitution, the text, and so on, I would substitute love, or lover, or loving, or some word like that, because it's more realistic. It's more real. There's the clitoris, and then there's the hand, which is a sexual organ too, by the way. The clitoris is the sex sign. The next sign is the hand, which is also 5 extension. In other words, it's clitoral hand. It has 5 extensions. I'm going to talk about the hand because it's a potent, significant symbol in the system of signs. SOS means system of signs, or save ourselves. Then the body is 5 extension. We have a clitoral body, meaning 5 extensions. Head, 2 arms, 2 legs. And then the standard star. The symbol for a star is this 5-pointed star. 5 extensions again, so we can apply that to the stars. They're not actually, that, but it's a symbol. We're talking symbolic language here. Sign, we're talking sign language. Language is important because it creates in our bodies chemicals. The language we use creates chemicals, creates endorphins in our body, which is chemical changes and nerve firings, all of that. So actually, if you look at the penis, there's a clitoris inside the penis, and if you look in this lady's anatomy book, you can see it very clearly. The clitoris, the erectile tissue, the sensitive tissue is inside the penis. So the penis is, and then the penis in the sex act is surrounded by the womb. The penis goes into the woman's vagina, it's surrounded. And the vagina is part of the womb, so the man is surrounded by the woman. I'm a man. I'm surrounded by a woman. Now, if I find that threatening, or crazy, or, I don't know, it's reasonable to me. It's not scary at all. It's liberating. But if I don't get it, I don't think I'm a true man. A true man can face the facts, accept the facts, even if it seems to go against his prejudices. So I'm a recovering patriarch. I was in the 2 biggest patriarchal systems in the world, working for them. First, the Catholic Church, and secondly, the United States Veterans Administration, taking care of the warriors. The clitoris, we're talking about clitoral thinking, is the only organ designed directly for pleasure. Get that, pleasure. Pleasure is love. Pleasure is joy. Pleasure is sex. And the clitoris stands for that as a symbol. In other words, nature did not have to make a clitoris. For pleasure, she could have embedded the nerves around the vagina and around the penis, using some other method, I guess. I don't know. Just speculating here. I'm saying the clitoris is a pleasure principle. And it's important to remember that this didn't happen in a vacuum. It's embedded in other, it's a situational thing. Love is all, and sex is about situation. Where is this situated? And we situated, and I think it's very true, it was a garden setting. We're situated in a garden as a species, or we should be. We're getting away from that, but we're filming here in a greenhouse in a garden. And we appeared in a garden. The garden, as we say, of Eden. Eden, in the original language, means pleasure. Pleasure. Eden means pleasure. We are in Eden. We're in pleasure. And another meaning, also probable, is that a well-watered place. So in this pleasure, there's water. Our species was born near water, near the big lake in East Africa, or later we went down to the big ocean down south until we could come back when the climate changed. Thank you for being with us on this journey as we tell this story, as we reenact with the lovers from all time and space and number. We reenact these things. Why? Why? So that we can be true lovers. And all of that entails. So thank you for listening. Love, love, and always love. Thank you.